completely forgot that I didn't plug my headphones. I didn't know I didn't plug in my what is it? I didn't know I didn't plug in my what is it? My microphone by accident. My microphone is now finally plugged in. So I will get to see. We get to find out, anyways. I am so behind. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm behind. Okay. But more importantly, there's been a lot of news happening in the past like 24 hours, 72 hours. But I feel like I want to yap since I don't have a lot of time. But one of the first things that came to mind was this coming into my feed like earlier in the day. I have another video from let me pull that up right now so we have that on deck. Hold on. Rev, not yet. We won't talk to you just yet. Not just yet. I promise. I will talk about you. Because this is relevant. This news I'm seeing is relevant. So apparently Japanese censorship Persona 4 Revival bends to Westerners' outrage by removing insensitive jokes and scenes. Now this is a subject that's being talked about in regards to Yasuke, and Persona 4. Persona 4. The premise of Persona 4 is that you move into this town that's in the sticks, and Yosuke. If memory serves correctly, Yosuke is a kid who tries extremely hard to be approachable, especially when our character is the new kid in town. He's trying to make friends with as many people as he can. He is insensitive to his jokes are bad, and that's supposed to be on purpose too. And on purpose too, because again, this is a game that was originally released in 2008, and then I think released a golden version in 2011. So a lot of his jokes are out of touch because like it's of that time. And so, anyways, the article, there's been an announcement that when it comes to Persona 4, that the Rebels confirmed changes to Yasuke's it's better for the current era. Now, off the top, this reads as him being changed to make jokes, to make quote-unquote jokes, and jokes and jabs on the current era. So if he's making jokes about 2026 or 2027, I hope it's not him using internet language like chud, incel, or Zionist. That's the worst possible outcome out of this too. And he's a little bit insensitive in terms of how he treats outsiders sometimes, and that's crazy because our main character himself, he's an outsider to where he just moved in from out of town. He's in this town for a year where a lot of things happen, and Yasuke's arc is in a situation where he is making friends with you. But anyways, people have been having an outrage already. It's been crazy to where the outrage is like wild. Let me see what else. Let me see if I can get this. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do everything. It's even weird too, to where he calls us partner every chance he gets, because that's his gimmick. Persona Team General producer Kazuhisa Wado spoke about the different changes made to Persona 4 Revival, making it more palatable for the current era in contrast to 2008, where the original PlayStation Persona 4 was first released. And again, it reads as him. Yeah, because if anything else, like when they're remastering this, they're doing their best to frame the jokes, frame the mindset to the current era to the best of their abilities, right? They still want to keep it 2008 casual, but it may, but then again, like, I don't know if people want to remaster a game and make it they want the game and the game jokes to age well, right? So they're going to change it a little bit here and there. But again, the first thing everyone has to remember is that if you don't like this version of this remake, you can play the original version that is available too, which I think, according to Steam, hold on. The original, the version that you can play right now was released on Steam on June 2020, and Persona 4 Golden is the current version of the game that you can play in its like naturalness, if that makes sense. So let me see. This game is overall. Hold on, let me see. Let's check this out. So if you don't like the idea of Persona 4 Revival, if the game is not for you, you can still play this original game, because Persona, I believe it started with Persona 3, to where Persona 3 got re-released as Persona 3 FES, and then, because this game right here, Persona 3 FES, and then it got re-released and remastered multiple times to where on the PlayStation Portable, it was called Persona 3 Portable, and then we have Persona 3. Hold on. Yeah, the one of the only. Let me see. Because I believe the only way to play, the only other way to play the original version of Persona 3 is the P3P version that is on Steam. P3P is the most current way to play the original Persona 3. If you have the PlayStation 3 before the store closes, I believe you can buy Persona 3 FES on the PlayStation 3 store before it closes. So that's another title you should probably grab when you get the chance to. Let's see. There's also Persona. Hold on. So there's that. And again, if you don't like the concept of Persona 4 Revival coming out, you can still play Persona 4 Golden, which is its latest iteration. And let me see. Persona 4 Golden in itself was released in when was it released? 2012. So in 2012 was when Persona 3 Golden was released, and this version is its most original form before the remake that's happening. So if you don't like the changes that are happening in Persona 3, Persona 4 Revival, you can play Persona 4 Golden. But again, like, since it's released to digital in 2020, it's been overwhelmingly positive. It's an experience, the best Persona ever made. Cinema will stand out as some of the best JRPG in the market. Again, I want to preface that before anyone rages. You can still play Persona 4 Golden, but again, Persona 4 Revival is a game that I'm personally excited about. If you don't like it, I respect your decision. I will probably spend my money anyways. But let's go back to the article. During the interview, he explained that the team hasn't changed much about the story or the characters' thoughts or how they act or anything. Then added that they were changing just Yasuke, which again is a big problem in this current economy, because one of the current examples of this problem is that Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender. His misogynistic personality and his sexist viewpoints got changed over time throughout the course of Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? But the problem is when they translated that to the Netflix show, almost all of that character growth has been removed, and in the second season, they try to remedy that, so he's a little bit more funny. The script writing made Sokka be a little bit more sexist again, a little bit more misogynistic again. So with Yasuke Hanamura, they may go down the direction of, hey, he's a little bit toned down. But again, the thing is they're mostly changing Yasuke. Really, they're mostly changing Yasuke to update his jokes, I think, to hopefully update X, Y, and Z. He wasn't very controversial at the time of the original release, but some of the controversial content involving him has not aged well. Most notably is his treatment of Kanji and anyone he perceives as other or outsider related to the rest of his friends. And that's it's a thing to look at when our character alone is technically an outsider because we moved in from a different city. But in reality, if you play the game in 2008 and in 2012, Yasuke is mostly, he is a little embarrassed with his own sexuality. I think that's the through line of Yasuke, is that he's really he's a little bit nervous when it comes to male sexuality. He also is a catalyst for some of Persona 4's most perverted teenager tropes of the type of scenes. I believe, if I remember correctly, one of them was him convincing everybody to peek on the girls while they're changing. Yasuke was the catalyst for some of the hijinks that were in a sauna, because one of the girls' families owns an inn and stuff like that. There are many reasons fans have speculated could fuel this behavior, especially as it is related to his sexuality and Kanji's perceived sexuality. Yeah, because I believe, for spoilers for a almost 10 for a nearly 20-year-old game, this game, Kanji's story, when you get into it, it dives into the weird sexuality that he's not even aware of, because he's completely confused in my understanding, Kanji's confused to where he's confused because he's a super manly man, the best man you can ever have. He looks like a delinquent, and then people don't know that he does the girly thing of tending to home ec things. He likes to sew. He does these dolls to help with his grandmother, and he doesn't like the idea of people seeing his tendencies of girly activities, and people think he's gay, because he's not sure that he is gay, or he's just comfortable in his body, so there's a whole thing about that. At the core of it is that Yasuke represents a sort of bro archetype that doesn't fly as readily as it did nearly a decade ago. Wada-san describes Yasuke as he's a little bit insensitive in terms of how he treats other outside outsiders sometimes. So we want to lighten that up and make it a little bit more fitting to the world we live in now. Fans have already noticed other changes to lines from Yasuke, even though the small snippets of dialogue we've seen from his trailers, even in the small snippets. Okay, he originally had a line about the protagonist being good with his hands, a line which is now replaced to, "Actually, you do strike me as someone who'd be good at that." It is worth noting that small adjustments to Yasuke's character has been made in many of the spin-off games, with him being apologetic about some of his past behaviors and seemingly reflecting on what aspects of it may have been wrong. Yeah, so again, like, it's crazy to where, like, his original character, he has the bro mentality of, like, guys do guy stuffs, and guys don't sew, guys don't tend to, like, with makeup or with dolls, like, what's going on, bruh? And in the spin-off games like Persona Q, there is a Persona 4 Battle Arena game where he does become apologetic, and it's funny to where his growth extends into the spin-off games. But if you go down his social link to where in the game you can hang out with friends, and if you hang out with them long enough, you maximize that relationship. And in the journey of maximizing the relationship with Yasuke, I don't remember if he fixes that part about him during that journey, but he definitely grows out of his sexism, his misogyny, his sexist perspectives. He grows out of it throughout the game. Persona 4 Arrival is likely to make changes to dialogue to make the game suit the current era, something Wada said indicated during the interview. And yeah, he has, it's, in my opinion, I think that him getting updated is it's a good thing. It's a good thing to where, like, for people who want that difference, sure, we can definitely see what that looks like, right? But let me see. The change from the lines where he says, like, "Hey, you look pretty good with your hands," to, "Hey, you do strike me as someone who'd be good at that." Again, I don't know what someone who'd be good at that would imply, but again, the changes are, again, it sounds minor because they during their interview in Anime Expo, they say that the game hasn't changed much about the story or the characters' thoughts or how they act, but they are updating the type of the type of phrasing that Yasuke says. So maybe it's a good change, maybe it's a bad change. Again, we don't know the full extent of those changes until we play into the 2027 game, because again, this game is going to be 19 years old, so there's a good chance that there's been some positive changes. And again, I don't know where the drama is going to be, but let's see what other people say. Snow J Campbell, let me see what you're trying to say. "Stop changing games to cater to crybabies. Christ, these people ought to have been gate kept much harder than they were, especially the localizers who push for these sort of things." Again, like, that's the craziest thing. Like, I don't think that's the takeaway, because this is not what's going on. I don't know what you're talking about, because even the article in itself says that the producers are changing up the way he speaks to match the era. Especially with the localizers who's push, especially localizers. The localizers, I don't think, have anything to do with it, so I wouldn't know. Man, I really hate how they keep trying to sanitize everything character flow. Characters are allowed to have flaws. Growth cannot happen without flaws. I mean, he's still but that's the thing though, like I don't think, according to the article, it doesn't say that they're sanitizing him. It just like they said, some mostly one character is getting changed, but their intentions. But what it says, like, what is it? The story, the character's thoughts, or how they act, are still relatively staying the same. But I think they're trying to make some of their phrasings match with the current times. They're trying to rephrase it to make more sense, but they're not using incel or chud or internet language. I don't think them being that far away from Tokyo would say that would say that. So I don't know. I might have said nothing. I might have said something, but let me know what your thoughts are. Hold on, I don't even think that they're not proud of it. God forbid someone be immature and insecure at the start and learn to become better by interacting with the people he held prejudice against. God to come out of the womb puffing that PC kush. The whole point is that Yasuke is insensitive. He's sheltered, only child, city boy with parents who own a megacorp. Persona is based entirely on. Okay. I mean, I don't think the original of most things is meant to be better than. Not all originals, I don't think, are better by default. I wonder, because if you look at the other remake titles that we have in the previous 5 years, 10 years, we have the remakes of Resident Evil, which is improved. Like the only remake of the Resident Evil series of the many Resident Evil titles, Resident Evil 3 in my opinion is the worst, because the Resident Evil 3 remake in itself feels like an expansion of Resident Evil 2 remake. It doesn't feel like its own identity, to where in the original RE3 Nemesis game, they implemented a key feature to where it gave you choices. It gave you A/B routes and punished you accordingly. But in Resident Evil 3, I believe they removed that entirely and made the story extremely linear, which is sad for a bit. Hi. No. Throw away trash. Okay, love you. But anyways, let's check out Rev talking about Resident Evil. Talking about Persona 3, Persona 4 Revival. Japan censors Persona 4 Revival, bending to Western outrage by removing insensitive jokes or scenes. But again, let's go back on the article. Wait, is this? Let me see this. Okay, let's quickly watch this trailer first. Let's watch the interview, so we can get a better understanding of where they're coming from. With any remake, there are improvements to graphical and visuals. What specific elements of Golden did you look towards as areas to improve?
そうですね、やっぱり昔のペルソナ4
To both a trend from both 4 and 4 Golden, but we really focus on the dungeons and the battle as things to upgrade.
結構力を注ぎました。
There are numerous improvements to the battle system, including a new way to knock back enemies, guard or launch powerful attacks. How do you balance adding a new element to the game without making it too easy or too complex? Hold on. Background is incredibly loud. I don't know why.
として最初に入れた時っていうのはどうなるかっていうのはまだ分からなかったんですけども、まあ、テストプレイを繰り返して一番いいバランスというかそこを
Did a lot of testing and
目指して今まだ鋭意制作中です。テストプレイめちゃくちゃ楽しかったです。
During the panel, we saw a sneak peek of Rise and learn her English voice actor. Yeah, because like originally her English voice actor was Laura Bailey, and I think it's changed, I guess. Rise has numerous abilities that help the party, and seems she may have some new abilities. Okay.
まあでも前から結構強いというか強力なサポートをするキャラなんで、多分ちょっとちゃんと確認しないといけないですけれども、あのままさらにブラッシュアップされているのかなっていうふうには。
Brush her up just a little bit.
聞いています。ちょっと前強すぎ
A little bit too powerful before. So okay. So if she was too powerful in the original game, maybe they're changing the challenge of the game by giving her a debuff, which is crazy. But again, we can look at this at a later time. Anyways, Rev says something, and Rev says Dezu, only on stream. But let's see what he has found, because again, I don't have the full picture. I just know that Rev is covering the way that Persona 4 Revival will be changing for Yasuke and friends.
Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Persona 4 Revival situation. It appears that this game is going full modern audience. Specifically, it is going to sanitize itself for the Western audience that is hypersensitive about everything. They are removing many problematic aspects of this game and this franchise to cater to these screechers on social media who are still not satisfied even with these changes. Even after bending the knee, it is not enough. The things are...
But again, we have to frame this viewing based on the idea that they're, because I don't know, we don't know completely if they're actually trying to like change like 100% of what the game's intending to do. Because again, they're trying to rework some of the jokes from Yasuke. Because again, in the game, our Persona 4, we meet Yasuke, which is he comes from a family who's moved from the big city to this small town to grow and develop the supermarket Junes. So this is a kid who is missing his life from Tokyo. He's a kid from Tokyo. He's a kid from the big city, right? And he's been there for maybe 1-2 years, and he's trying to adjust his livelihood there, right? That's my understanding of Yasuke and his perspectives on homophobic viewpoints and his perspective on sexuality and whatever problematic perspectives about him is based on his time living in Japan, in Tokyo, which is very different dynamic from the city.
going to be talking about is including some problematic dialogue, including jokes that were deemed insensitive. Those have been reworked. But I want to start off with something that is a lot more simple and very evident to realize. It's the fan service.
Oh, this is a great game, but
Apparently, bathing suits are not allowed any longer in this franchise. That's a little bit too much for the Western audience, because we have a very interesting situation. So when it comes to the character Rize,
bathing suit scene. There's a bathing suit scene cut? Okay, hold on. Yeah, because he's been insensitive in terms of how how he treats outsiders. Because again, when outsiders, he feels threatened. Like, him as a character feels threatened because that was his identity, being as someone who's first of a few who's moved to this city. So that's his identity.
apparently bathing suits are not allowed any longer in this franchise. That's a little bit too much for the Western audience, because we have a very interesting situation. So when it comes to the character Rize, it appears that a bathing suit scene in one of the promotional trailers for this game has only been removed in the Western version of this trailer.
Really?
You can see on the left, this is from the
The Japanese trailer for Persona 4 Revival opens with Rize Kukikawa shown in a swimsuit. Oh yeah, that's right, because she is in a swimsuit, either advertising water or advertising lotion. I don't remember which, but I guess the Western audience is really... I mean, they have been sensitive to the idea that anytime you show skin, it's all of a sudden a reason to get horny. And it's crazy, because even during the Dragon Quest remakes that's been happening, the Dragon Quest, what are the titles called? Yeah, because like even during the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, there's been censorship on those games too, because they censored the bikini armors, for example, and then they censored the symbolisms that are on the priests' costumes, because they don't want that associated in real life Christianity. And that's incredibly funny in my opinion, but that's really sad to where that's where censorship goes for the Western audience.
Japanese trailer, and on the right, that is the same timestamp in the English version of this trailer. They clearly cut out this entire sequence because, well, people on the Western side of Twitter are loud, obnoxious screechers who are angry about this. And, well, on the one hand, you could say, well, Japan doesn't want to cater to them anymore, and really that is the product of so much outrage that clearly is being heard by Japanese developers. But, of course, you'll never make anyone happy. You can see the ignorance.
You guys really want to see a 15-year-old in a swimsuit? I mean, it's not that we want to see a minor in a swimsuit that happens to be in high school. I wonder, because like that in itself is a projection of like what are you looking for, because when you go into a JRPG game, everybody who does play a JRPG game definitely understands the mindset of what they're going into. Because like, yeah, I may be playing Final Fantasy, yeah, I might be playing Persona or Dragon Quest, but I don't inject my world's perspective, my 2026 perspective into the game. Like I like beautiful women in video games that are gonna kill me. An example of those kind of women in games are Lara Croft. I'm thinking any of the fighters from Street Fighter, from Soul Calibur, from King of Fighters, things like that, right? But I don't inject like, oh, this girl is too sexualized. Can we please cover it up? I know what I'm buying, and I know that in the in the perspective of like this Persona game. Oh yeah, some. Oh, you, all your trash.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Do we have recycling this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Tis both.
Okay, I'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
I don't expect myself to. That's crazy to where you're projecting, like, you're so focused on the fact that the girl's 15 when that's crazy projection.
In comments like this, not realizing that this sort of stuff has existed in the game already. And
Yeah, this has existed in this game already, to where you are playing a high schooler and you and your other high school friends sees this. And like, if you don't know Rise in the show, you already know in the game, you already know like one of the reasons why she's in town to begin with is because she's tired of the superstardom too. She's tired of being an idol. So she came back to live with her grandmother to like take a break. If you actually play the game, you'd know this, and her dungeon is actually talking about how disgusting the idol lifestyle is.
on top of that, you have tweets like this getting 1,000 likes saying, I like how Predators post this and they are like, Atlas sexualizes Rise too. Well, if you actually played the game, you'd know this, and her dungeon is actually talking about how disgusting you are. Well, of course, it's not enough for them
Yeah, again, like, it's incredibly wild to where,
to remove the fact that their entire account is dedicated to this character, that they're so is actually talking about how disgusting you are. Well, of course, it's not enough for them to remove.
Again, like, it's, a fan of AI PlayStation 4. Rise enthusiast, Rise post a lot. Okay. You made your identity based on the character. Okay.
Remove the fact that their entire account is dedicated to this character, that they're so upset about, peak hypocrisy as usual. But on
Is it peak hypocrisy? Hold on.
top of that, people are pointing out that her and her Atlas that you have like this, not realizing that this sort of stuff has existed in the game already. And on top of that, you have tweets like this getting 1,000 likes saying, I like how Predators post this and they are like, Atlas sexualizes Rise too.
Yeah, because again, like, her dungeon is a conversation about the public's opinion of her, and she's like disgusted by it too. Like, when you play her dungeon, you do see that she's also disliking of this public view on her too. She wants to be a high schooler again. She wants to be a kid again. And then when she's an adult, when she's 18 and graduated, she might want to go back into the life of an idol. I don't know. It's been like 15 years since I've played the game.
Well, if you actually played the game, you'd know this, and her dungeon is actually talking about how disgusting you are. Well, of course, it's not enough for them to remove the fact that their entire account is dedicated to this character, that they're so upset about, peak hypocrisy as usual. But on top,
The dungeons aren't created by the person or their shadow. They're reflections of the collective unconscious. The dungeon wasn't about how disgusting we are, it's a reflection of how the public saw Rise. You don't... Wait, what is that again? I don't know how do you even phrase that? Hold on. Let me look that up. Let me look up what Jungian philosophy. What is that? Analytical philosophy. Philosophy is a holistic framework founded by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Posits that the human psyche is guided by the unconscious mind. The ultimate goal of life is individualism, a lifelong process of integrating conscious and unconscious elements to become your true, authentic self. Okay, that's what Jungianism is. believes humans share universal psychological patterns called archetypes, or like in this case, the arcana. So that's crazy, right? Yeah, because like it's a reflection of how the public saw Rise. It's kind of like the way in Rise. It's actually when you look at it, it's the same way that it's the same reality that people would. It's when I think of this, I think of Billie Eilish and how the public has have seen her. It's even so it's even the collective public is in a funny way discussing too, to where if you just look up if you look up Billie Eilish in X, just look up her name. Look up Billie Eilish and her name. Just look up the name Billie Eilish on Twitter, and you will not see you will not like what you see. If you look up the name Millie Bobby Brown, I think, the girl from Stranger Things, she is also like the top. You will see the worst of people when you look up people's names on social media, right? Social media has a really weird way of highlighting what a large majority of people are looking for, and it's crazy and it's upsetting. It's like it's almost like imagining it's crazy to where the whole concept of idols can be that perverse, but also it has to be like what how do I want to say this? It's wild. Everything about, if you look up the name Billie Eilish, the results you find are wild. If you look up the names like Scarlett Johansson, if you look up the names of any female like actress, or artist, it's incredibly wild of the things you'll find on X, if not Google, if not Blue Sky.
For that, people are pointing out that individuals like this are not only annoying and virtue signaling, they're also hypocrites and tourists who don't understand what they're even talking about. This quote saying, "The dungeons aren't created by the person or their shadow, they're reflections of the collective unconscious. The dungeon wasn't about how disgusting we are, it's a reflection of how the public saw Rise. You regards don't know Jungian philosophy if it bit your behind." Then, of course...
Yeah, this was the article we were just reading earlier. Changing Yasuke to fit today's era.
We have this right here. This is now pruning the problematic dialogue in this revival. As you can see, Persona 4 Revival producer confirms changes to Yosuke to fit today's era. Yes, that is some magical language right there. Modern audience, current times, modern times. They're using today's era. That is a new one. Mark it down anytime you hear today's era being used as a defense for censorship. You know you're dealing with someone who absolutely bent the knee.
But that's the thing too, to where I have the hot take of if they went into this for the 20-year cook, if they went into this with the intentions of prioritizing the Japanese market first, we wouldn't get this much of a backlash. I believe that if Atlus stuck to their guns and targeted the Japanese audience first, it would be so much better. Because because the things that they're pruning are offensive to Western audiences, that's how it's going to turn out. But again, if you were to approach the Revival title with the Japanese population in mind primarily, I'm sure it would have been fine. Because you have to remember that the original game was made in 2000. It was released in 2008. And if I remember things correctly, when Japanese RPG games got incredibly popular because of how they challenged the Western audience of that era, right? So I think to myself, if they stuck to their guns, they would find, I feel like if in today they primarily had the Japanese audience in mind when they made this game, I'm sure it would have found their audience again. Much like how Studio Shift Up, when they made the trailer for Stellar Blade, like Blood Rising. Hold on, what's the title? Blood Rain. When Studio Shift Up made the game, were making the game Blood Rain, they doubled down on their philosophies, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna be making bank too, because it'll find its audience, and if you don't like it, then you're not a part of the audience, right? It's not meant for you. If they made this game with Japanese gamers in mind, it would find its community eventually.
It's more than just some general approach about fitting in today's era, which no one wants. Does anyone want the dialogue of a game, a revival game, to fit today's climate? Absolutely not. But we got some specific examples, narrowing it down a little bit. So as you can see, while Persona 4 Revival has yet to be announced for the Nintendo Switch 2 by Atlus and Sega, it is expected to come out at some point. Today, more information has been revealed. Persona Team General Producer said that they will be making changes to Yosuke, saying that he's a little bit insensitive in terms of how he treats outsiders sometimes. So he wanted to lighten that up and make it a little bit more fitting for the world we live in now. And
again, this is his character. He is a character who's lived in the big city. He moves into a small town, so he has big city perspectives. He's a little homophobic because that's what his circle was back in the day.
what they're referring to is what people are considering homophobic jokes that were made during some of his dialogue. They are most likely getting rid of that to fit in with today's era, which is peak modern audience rhetoric. This is something that everyone is rejecting, and people on social media not too happy saying, but Yosuke doesn't live in the world we live in now. This is a very simple but very important point. They are changing a character to fit in not only with society outside of the game in real life, but also today's society.
I do see a problem with that, where, yes, it is true that Yosuke doesn't live in 2026. He lives in 2008. But I think it's also right to where there is a certain art form in keeping their characters when they lived. What I mean by that, Yosuke is a high schooler in 2008. I would like the idea that this game is a bit of a pensive to look into what 2008 was, right?
Makes absolutely no sense. It is a completely backwards decision. You can see more quotes saying, why can't some characters just sometimes be a jerk? It's relatable and makes for good character development.
Yeah, and I think that same sentiment would be directed towards Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender too.
Yeah, apparently that is not enough. Characters have to be perfect. They have to be role models. They can't have flaws. They can't be edgy. They can't have anything like that because, well, the impressionable, mostly Western gamers will be very upset about that, and it might corrupt them because their brains are so broken. Their brains are so susceptible to all kinds of negativity entering there and having damaging effects on them to the point they're having a panic attack because a video game character is making a homophobic joke. But here's another quote saying, we as humans have flaws, and that's what makes us human. We are not perfect. I'm not a fan of changing things like this just to fit the so-called current era, especially when the game isn't even supposed to take place in this era. In Persona 3 Reload, they did the same thing similar to Yuko, and I hate it. which of course they have tried to rewrite what was deemed transphobic lines in the past. So this is nothing new for Atlus, and quite frankly, I'm not surprised that they're doing this, but you can still be disappointed while not being surprised. But of course, some people are rejoicing in this. Will be disappointed.
But again, in Persona 3 Reloaded, they did something similar to Yoko. Who is she again? Yoko Ni... Who's Yoko Nishimura? Nishiwaki, sorry. Yuko Nishiwaki. Oh, that girl! I dated that girl when I played the original Persona 3. What did she say? I mean... I wonder about that. I don't know what they said, but like, I haven't had a chance to really play the entire game quite yet. But there's something about it, yeah.
Disappointed while not being surprised. But of course, some people are rejoicing in this. You see quotes like this saying, LGBTQ friendly Yosuke confirmed? It's nice for them to get an update like this. His behavior was very much the norm for the time when it came out. Unfortunately, it's understandably aged very poorly. It's great to see the more upsetting behavior will be softened a bit.
Honestly, I think you know what? Just for the sake of it, Frog Lord has convinced me that we should have kept Yasuke sexist in the very beginning. We should have kept his problematic characteristics a problem, because otherwise there would be no road to character growth in the rest of the game, right? To where if we keep him LGBTQ friendly from start to finish, there's no room for character growth, right? He becomes plain. He becomes vanilla ice cream. There's nothing offensive about it, and if you find something about vanilla offensive, then there's a bigger issue, right? Why? You know what? I wish Yasuke was more problematic, because we also have the detective of the game. The detective of the game has a problem with her sexual identity, because she doesn't feel taken seriously when people know that she's a girl, but she presents herself as a young man instead of a young girl. When people perceive her as a young man, they take her seriously, and that's why when you go through her dungeon, she's on the verge of being put under a forced transition operation, and like that, and her, and like the public's opinion, the public's perspective of what they need from her is incredibly wild. But again, I want more problematic characters.
Yes, this person is upset over jokes in a video game. I believe this person should not be your target audience. I believe you should not be catering to people like this who are literally going to have a panic attack if they see an edgy joke in a game. And by the way, pretty lukewarm jokes, by the way, the kind of banter you would expect from pretty much any video game from years ago, but all of a sudden now is so bad because this individual on Twitter might have a panic attack over it.
Again, if I would love to meet these people. If you are incredibly like offended from the slightest joke, then there is something, then you definitely do need therapy. But it's more of like, there's a bigger issue to solve than these small jokes about sexuality, when these jokes often shouldn't mean anything. But if you let these jokes ruin your day, that don't ruin somebody else's. If something's ruining your day, don't make everybody else match your mood.
But here's another quote saying, people grieving homophobic Yosuke need to be so for real. He will still be annoying without those few comments. Why are you worried?
He's because like, if I remember correctly, Yasuke is annoying anyway, even without his homophobic like comments. He's still pretty annoying to where he's doing his best to be relatable, to say, hey, let's go, partner. Hey, you and me, partner. Hey, we got it, partner. He has his insecurity about being alone and being like ostracized is in itself like a call for help, but also incredibly annoying to a, hey, I get it, this is your thing, stop.
Well, again, we see this all the time, an appeal to triviality, right? Oh, what's the big deal? Oh, why are you so mad? Why are you worried? Well, if it wasn't a big deal, then why did they change it in the first place? If it wasn't a big deal, you should have just left it alone. Clearly, it was a big deal to you, therefore you're happy that it's changed. But
Yeah, if it's a big deal for you, then I'm very happy for you. But for the other 95% of gamers, they will just chalk it up as to him being who he is, and the more you play this 40 hours, 70 hour game, 80 hour game, because that's the length of Persona games. Persona games you finish after like 60, 80 hours, and you're saying this is the biggest problem for you?
But saying I don't actually think this is a bad thing, to be honest. I think his homophobia is actually a good character flaw for him to have, but the issue is that it's just kind of treated as a gag, and no one ever really calls him out for it. Oh, it's never enough, ladies and gentlemen. They're happy it's being removed, but they're still mad that it's not being addressed. You'll never make these people happy, and yet...
Why is that an issue? Oh yeah, I mean, I guess it's an issue to where nobody calls him out on it. But did you ever think that people don't call him out is because they don't care? They don't care that he's making a joke. He makes these jokes trying to be funny, trying to be relatable. But did you ever think that it wasn't they didn't want to waste their energy to call it out?
Yes, these people are so weak-minded. They need a video game to dictate their morals. If something happens that they think is bad in the game, it has to be corrected. Otherwise, what are they going to do? What are they supposed to think? The game approves X, Y, and Z. These are characters in a fictional setting. Okay.
If you remember, if you remember The Incredibles, remember as the great Syndrome once said, if everybody's super, nobody is. If everybody is LGBTQ friendly, then nobody is. You need people on both sides to balance the scale. It's not a bad thing. I think
Okay, you don't need every single thing to be resolved or addressed or corrected in any sort of a way. This is an incredibly terminally online set of behavior, but
that's the thing though, to where because like, here's the thing. If your friend makes all these jokes, but when he will self-correct himself. That's the really funny thing, to where if your friend makes these kind of jokes and nobody finds it funny, nobody addresses it, and nobody reacts to it, they will self-correct on their own. You don't need to correct him for him. He can correct it for himself. All you have to do is that if it doesn't bother you, don't address it, don't laugh about it, don't interact with it. Don't call it out, because he will fix it himself if he's not getting the response that we want. Everybody makes jokes just to be relatable, and if he doesn't feel like his joke is relating to people, he's gonna fix it on his own.
here's another quote saying, this is clearly well-intentioned, but if they want to make Persona 4 not homophobic, they'll need to rewrite the entire game from the ground up. Well, I told you it's not enough. They need to rewrite the whole game now. It never stops at one change. It's the whole thing that needs to be rewritten now, because apparently the whole...
If you give them an inch, they will take a mile. Because we already have Rise and her dungeon about her identity. It's about how people see her and it's a disgusting situation, right? We have Kanji in his dungeon where he is questioning his own sexual identity because of how he acts and what his actual hobbies are. We have the detective who feels like she can only be taken seriously if people think she's a man. We have Chie, who is comfortable in herself, but people expect her to be more ladylike, they expect her to be more feminine, and then her dungeon tackles that issue.
Whole game is homophobic. But speaking of the sort of never being enough, there's still...
I don't think... I think it's funny to where, like, in this game, most Persona games gives you the only option to have heterosexual relationships. They don't give you the option to where, oh, you can either date your best friend guy or best friend girl. Persona games have not given you that route in any format. And the only way that you can have the option to date the male characters is if you play Persona 3 Portable with the female lead.
Mad. We're not getting this romance route. Yes, people are really mad that they're not getting a romance route with this character, and that is seemingly, and very obviously, because people want him to have a gay route in terms of romance with this.
They honestly, with the announcement of Persona 6, they should make a gay route. They should make all your friends dateable. All the guys dateable. All the girls dateable. Your pets, you'll stay forever single. But even within Persona 5, you can even date the adults. You can date your teacher. You can date your nurse. You can date a local article writer. You can date a fortune teller that you've met on the street. You can date anybody and every adult in Persona 5, but you can't marry your bros, man. Kiss your bros, man. Kissing your bro matters.
They're saying let him
#kiss your bros.
Kiss boys. This is what they want, and it's so ironic because all these people were just whining about Rize being in a bathing suit, and now they're angry they're not getting a romance route with this character in the same setting. I mean, the hypocrisy is just glaring, ladies and gentlemen. But on a similar subject, Kotaku
is getting rid of the homophobia.
Weighed in on all this, and they are, doing Kotaku things, saying, it sure sounds like Persona 4 Revival is getting rid of the homophobia. Yosuke is apparently getting some changes on how he treats outsiders. Kotaku, of course, coming in with the woke take here, and here's their explanation where they too basically say this is not enough. And even when
we're simply replacing Yosuke's homophobic scenes with something else would be in line with how Atlus has been treating queerness in recent Persona games. Altering the existing scenes through localization in Persona 5 Royal, straight up rewritten interactions that were deemed transphobic in 3 Reloaded, and at least gestured an existence of queer characters in Tactica, though it doesn't actually manifest as a queer relationship. These approaches have let Atlus make the series more inclusive across the board, but also usually getting away with not taking that next step to actually allow players to engage in same-sex relationships. And I would be very surprised if Revival did anything more than cover up needless homophobia. Man, why can't you kiss your bros, tuck them in, say goodnight? Make a Persona game that lets you tuck in your bros, right?
Referring to previous iterations of this game that removed problematic content, that wasn't even enough back then, because they didn't actually manifest queer relationships in the franchise. That's right. Even if you remove the supposed transphobia and homophobia, if you don't provide some sort of a queer romance option in lieu of it, you're not doing enough. You're not a good enough ally, I'm sure is the kind of verbiage they use. But I tried to look up the author of this article, and of course I found them on Blue Sky. That's where all of the games journalists hang out these days in their little cult-like echo chamber over here. And just looking through this guy's account, it's just a sad account, to be honest with you. And then you see posts like this.
You should assume more people you meet are gay. Been mistaken for a straight man multiple times today. I mean, that is definitely your opinion. Don't tell me how to live. Like, it was already bad enough in the early 2000s, and you know what? It's bad enough going through life too, to where unless you're transparent about it, you don't know who's interested into you, and they don't know you're interested either. Communication as a whole kind of sucks. You go through high school not being transparent with the person that you like, and they don't know how you're feeling, and they don't feel the permission to tell you how they feel if they don't know what you feel. Love is war, and oftentimes nobody knows until someone fires the gun first.
Saying, you should assume more people you meet are gay, just like as a rule. Been mistaken for a straight man multiple times today, and that stuff sucks.
You should assume more people you meet are gay. No, I mean, to be fair, to be honest, how you present yourself walking down the street is your problem. If you don't, but no, that can't be right. You can't, one doesn't simply walk down the street looking gay. One person doesn't simply walk down the street like a drag queen. That it doesn't happen. That's just, I don't go out of my house and just say, "Oh, are you gay? Should I act as if you're gay?" No, that's offensive.
LMFAO. This guy is literally pressed because strangers are assuming he is a straight man. The delicate sensibilities of Kotaku journalists, Blue Sky users, and all of the above combined. Very pathetic stuff, but of course Kotaku is still posting onto Twitter to the tune of 22 likes on 14,000 views, and they're getting roasted in the comments.
And it's incredibly wild to where the writer himself is its way. Kotaku is...
Of course, they hate Twitter, but they can't leave Twitter because they need the reach, even if it means they're being mocked 99% of the time when it comes to their engagements. You can see, whoa, a company bullied into changing its product for censorship, and piss-licking journalist loves it. Thanks regards, the sanitization of fiction sure is swell and always leads to increased sales.
Yeah, we have the original available in the form of Persona 4 Golden.
Neanderthals. Well, always have the original and mods.
The game isn't pro-gay. Again, the game is not pro-gay. It's just... I don't even know that. It just says they're making less homophobic jokes. They're making less us versus them conversations. They're changing that. It's not... They're not changing the game just to be pro-gay.
So the game is now pro-gay now. Hard pass for me. That's not going on my screen. Abysmal framing. Persona 4 had nothing offensive to remove, and if a character like Yosuke is too offensive, I can only imagine what changes they'll have lined up for characters like Naoto and Kanji.
And Naoto is the character detective that has a problem with their sexuality too. Naoto was the one that I was talking about, to where she, in her dungeon is gonna force her to do a transitional operation, because again, she's an ingenious detective. Her grandfather is this great detective that put her under his wing. She's extremely talented as a detective, but the police force in that area and other parts of Japan that she's worked on, they don't take her seriously because she's a woman. She is confident on the fact that unless she's perceived as a man, no one takes her seriously, and she just wants to be taken seriously, right? So that's what Naoto deals with. She deals with the intrusive thought of like, oh, if I was born a man, I wouldn't have these problems, but I'm a girl, So I need to make people think I'm a guy to take me seriously when all I want to do is be taken seriously. And the reality is that for her to be happier, if people removed the expectations of what men should be doing, what women should be doing, like she is a great detective, but what blocks them from seeing that is she a guy? Take him seriously. If she's a girl, she has no credible opinion. That's the problem with Nyota that she deals with.
Further tampering of existing games and franchises is disappointing. That remake won't be getting any money from us. Now, I know that they're gonna remove these two, and I absolutely love Funky Student. I highly recommend newcomers to try Golden instead. It's probably gonna be the best version, and it holds up
Funky Student is just a dude with an afro.
well still to this day. As you can see, people are mocking this absolute debacle of a situation. Atlus has bent the knee. They're removing the problematic stuff, and they clearly have an eye on the Western audience. That seems to be the reason why they're doing all of this to begin with. I don't think anyone in Japan is worked up about any of this, but of course, the loudest screechers come from the West, and whether they're confused...
That is a big problem to where the loudest people are from the West, because there's even, in the internet's worst case scenario, there is a subsection of the internet to where they believe in the nose ring conspiracy, to where if you got piercings along your nose or along your ears, you have a certain opinion, and that's crazy to see.
Used about the importance of these screechers from social media. They're over-evaluating their importance in terms of who's interested in the game, or if they agree with them. We'll never really know, but at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, they're catering to them. Okay, they're catering to them, they're removing things, they're censoring things, and making it for today's era, which is an absolute disgrace for Atlus or any company these days, in this current era, as they say. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please give the video a like, consider subscribing and turning on notifications for daily uploads, as well as multiple streams a week live here on YouTube. But overall, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, and that's like incredibly wild to where, that's incredibly wild because again, like in general, like that's just the craziest thing when it comes to Persona 4. Persona 4 is a game that I enjoy. I enjoy the Persona series. I don't remember completing a single one, but I do enjoy them. And honestly, I don't know where the conversation can go. Please let me know what your thoughts are, because I honestly don't know where the conversation can go, because people have opinions about, oh, they're removing 5% of this game, which is about him and his homophobic comments, his sexuality jabs and stuff like that. And then the reality is like, there's more to this game than, there's honestly more to this game than Yasuke. It's just a thing to where he happens to be in your main party, so he's one of those obligatory, he's one of those like friends who are like, since he's in the group, have to deal with it, right? He's a part of the main cast, and I think in theory you can almost finish the game without completing his social link, but the true ending requires you to finish that social link. Which is the funniest thing, to where like, this game has an ending, and in this particular title, you can end the game early because this game is wrapped around a murder mystery, and if you fail to solve the murder mystery, you end the game early. But if you complete the murder mystery, you complete the game. But if you complete the social links on top of the game, you'll get a true ending to this game too. The true ending is locked behind completing the murder mystery and completing all the social links, including Yasuke, which is in itself problematic. And then you have all your other characters. This guy sorry for spoilers of a 20-year-old game. He's a manifestation of the Midnight Channel that you go into to fight these dungeons. This girl loves kung fu movies, is expected to be a girly girl. This girl is expected to be an heiress to an inn, to a franchise in this town. Naoto is a girl who's expected to be taken seriously if you're a male detective. A female detective doesn't be taken seriously. That deals with that. Rise deals with the public's perspective of her idol career. And Kanji is a person who has girly hobbies, but he's also a manly man, and his dungeon deals with his sexuality. So it's incredibly wild to where we don't know where this is gonna go. And we don't know where this. Tell me, I need to know what your thoughts are, because I don't know where this game goes. I will still play this game. I still love Persona. I have not finished any of the titles in the past 20 years of me around the game and the franchise, but I love it. Have not completed it yet, but we'll see. And I think I'm just gonna get ready to work. I'm gonna come from here. Honestly, I don't know what the takeaway is from this stream, but I definitely know that I still enjoy Persona. The power hour that we have with Persona has been pretty wild. But anyways, let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you next time. Bye.